Thank you very much for joining us today. We're going to take you through some really interesting information about SOLIDWORKS and share some of our experiences and tips and techniques and things to look out for if you're now suddenly finding yourself working from home. I'd like to introduce my colleague, Tim Newton, who's also on the line here. And I'm Glenn White. And together we oversee the product management team here at Hawkridge Systems. And today we're going to be speaking to the topic of making the most of your work from home, which many of us are likely involved in with SOLIDWORKS. And we're going to take a couple of tacks towards that. First of all, we're going to talk about the logistics, the technical logistics of working from home, how to make SOLIDWORKS work outside of your normal work environment. But then we'll also branch into some of the things we can do to try to stay connected, stay informed, and maybe upskill ourselves during this time. So we'll talk about some certification options available, ways you can still get training, engage in community events, and we'll finish up with a discussion of how to, this may be a good time to explore the software and what you might consider looking at, so that when you return to work, you've got new skills, you've got new capabilities. So, as you can probably see, both Tim and I are working from home. As we suspect many of you.
Not exactly new though, right, Glenn? I mean, a lot of us have done some of this stuff here at Hawkridge. We're about 21 offices spread across North America. So, you know, we've got some history with us, and I think we've got some good advice for everybody.
Yeah. So, you know, we know there's different rules in different states, and many of us are in forced lockdowns. Some of us have maybe a little more flexibility, and some of us are in essential services. We do have to go to work. So let's start with logistics, the technical elements of how we can use SOLIDWORKS, which for me is my primary kind of work application. I'm sure for many of you it's the same, or it's a significant part of your job, having access to that. The first element we'll talk about is licensing. Now, how you're going to be able to license things really depends on what type of license you have, whether it's standalone or whether it's a network license. And so you can tell which one you have if you're not sure by going to Help About SOLIDWORKS and clicking on the little zone that says Show Serial Number. And if it starts with 9000, which is most common, or 0000, it's a standalone license. If it's 9010, 0010, it's a network license. So that tells you what you can do. For a standalone license, it's locked to your machine most typically. So if you're using the same machine you use at work, just plug it in and go, right? You don't need any web connection. It's already got the license attached to it. If you are using a different machine at home, like let's say you use a desktop at work, and when you go home, you're installed it on your home computer, you'll need to transfer the activation. If you have easy access to your work computer, it's just one click in the help menu to deactivate the license. If you don't have easy access, just give us a call. It's about a 10-minute process, and we'll share our support context shortly to release that activation and let you ready to go on your home computer. But what about network licensing, Tim?
Right, so networking allows an organization to share a pool of licenses. Typically, there'll be a server machine, and on that is a lightweight little application that doles out licenses. So as Glenn launches SOLIDWORKS, it takes a license out of the pool, and if I launch SOLIDWORKS, it's going to see if there's any licenses in the pool to grab from. So if you're working from home, if you grab your laptop and brought it from home, in order to launch SOLIDWORKS, you'll have to connect to that server machine. So that can be done a number of ways, most easily with a VPN connection. Now, you're probably going to talk to your IT group about gaining access through VPN. Typically, they hold the keys to that kingdom. So if you've got a VPN running, you're already connected to the network, and you can just launch SOLIDWORKS like you always do. If you're not able to VPN in, another way is to borrow the license. So you go to the license manager client while you're connected to that network, and you go to the borrow tab, you'll set a duration of borrowing and then the license that you want, and then just check them out. And now your machine can be unplugged from that network connection, and it keeps that license through the duration or until it's checked back in. Now, one word of caution is if you're VPN connecting in, you don't want to borrow while VPN connecting. It can leave licenses orphaned, and in a link in the document in the handout, we've got a lot more information on that specific topic. Now, if you've forgotten to borrow the license and you can't get access to it, contact our support group. We can generate a license for you. SOLIDWORKS has been, pretty giving in this time, and we'll provide you a license for the duration of our situation, so you can continue to work SOLIDWORKS like you normally do.
Yeah, I think that's a great move by SOLIDWORKS to provide those temporary licenses to people that do need to get connected but don't have a mechanism to do so. Certainly contact us, technical support group. We'll share the information shortly and we can facilitate that for you. All right, so we've got SOLIDWORKS open. We've got a blank screen. How do I get up? How do I get access to my data? Right, the work I've been doing, that sort of stuff. And it really depends on the data management strategy you employ. If you're just saving your data to your computer and you still get your computer, you're fine. You're good to go. It's no problem. But many organizations will store data in network folders. And unfortunately, the only way to get access to those is to connect to the network. So you're going to need a work VPN, or if you can get in physically for maybe a morning or something like that, you can download a package of things to work on. We recommend using the tool Pack and Go that's in the file menu of SOLIDWORKS to make sure you get the assembly files you need and all the contributing part files. But you should also be aware that as soon as you do that, you're creating kind of child variants of items. If you're actively collaborating with someone, you're going to want to be real careful about not stepping on each other's toes. If you're both working on an assembly together, you're going to have to be close contact.
Yeah, you're really going to have to communicate which parts you're going to own and work on and which other parts, because if Glenn's working on the same subassembly as I am and we put those into the network, the last one to save wins. And one other word of caution, if you're saving stuff locally, find a backup strategy. I think I've lost some work over the years due to things on the local drive, and I don't want anybody to experience that feeling when you realize it's not coming back. So find a way to back it up. And actually, we've got a tool that we'll show in a minute here that you have access to that will provide you just that, an offsite copy of the backup.
Yeah. But, I'd say the majority of our customers at this point are using some sort of data management system, whether it's PDM Standard or PDM Pro. Again, those systems are generally network based, right? They're hosted on a work server, and ideally a VPN is the way to connect to those. Really no significant alternative there, unfortunately. Now, if you are using a different computer for PDM, for SOLIDWORKS, that's not your regular day-to-day work computer, there may be a couple of tweaks you need to make to get PDM working. You may need to open some ports. You may need to edit the host file. And if you, again, look in our handout of links, we've linked to a specific technical support article that we shared, talking about exactly what needs to be done to enable that on your system. So check that out over in the handouts area. I'd say there's maybe one area that we haven't directly linked here, and that's PDM Web 2. And Web 2 is a function that can provide a limited view of your kind of Vault browser essentially, within a web environment. Now, we're not talking a lot about that right now because we don't think it's a real silver bullet solution for the situation many of us find ourselves in. It still requires VPN. It needs to be set up ahead of time at the server side. And what you can do with it is limited, but it does, if you're just like an approver of content or you just need to view some basic stuff or see its revision, and it's set up, that can be an option to explore.
Yeah, if I'm out in the field and I need to get access to the data, the web client's a great way to do that. I can browse in, search, find, view. It's great to consume data.
Yeah. The last one we'll throw at you is kind of a bit of a byproduct. So there's some plugins available for the 3D Experience Marketplace and Parts Supply. And what those are like a digital catalog of common components that you can download files direct from the supplier. And if you wish to, move to a purchasing relationship with them. You can order stuff directly through that Parts Supply link. Marketplace is similar, but it's for custom parts. You can send your designs out to quote to sheet metal shops, 3D printers, injection molders that are part of that marketplace environment. It's really interesting new technology, all about connecting to your supply chains through the cloud. But a byproduct of that, by signing up for a free account, you get 5 GB of cloud storage that's available to you. So if you did use network folders and you just need somewhere to put your stuff that's backed up, where maybe you can share elements of it with other people, that 3D Experience cloud storage environment could be something you can take advantage of, and it's free. This really needs you to make a download and create an account. Super simple. Okay. We've got our data, we're working on licensing. Hey, I'm working on a computer that is not my normal SOLIDWORKS computer. Let's look at that scenario. And the reality is, I know I'm not sitting at home with a SOLIDWORKS capable CAD workstation as my personal computer. Sometimes we're gonna have to get by with something that's less than ideal. Okay. And what can we do to make that as pain-free as possible? So where we'd start is look at the performance settings. You're going to find most of those under Tools, Options, System Options, Performance. A couple of things we'll point you to. You want to take a look and maybe activate Software OpenGL. If your home computer, let's say, doesn't have
a regular professional kind of graphics card. Maybe it's got, the onboard graphics, which is really popular in low-end consumer models. And it just doesn't have the guts to drive the graphic intensive program that's SOLIDWORKS. This is a great option to, enable to replicate the graphic stuff. It basically does it in software.
Yeah. You're gonna also want to turn down most of the sliders you see on the screen about like level of detail, things like that. I'd also go look in your document properties, which is the other half of your system options. Turn down the image quality, right? It'll make your circles look like hexagons, but it'll be worth it. Think about lightweight for assemblies. And the other tip that's really cool, in your start menu, if you search for RX, you'll find the SOLIDWORKS RX tool, and that has a diagnostic. It'll tell you things that may be deficient about your system when it comes to working with SOLIDWORKS, and that may just let you plan better for what to tweak and what to adjust.
You might want to make your home computer replicate the settings that you have on your work computer. For example, maybe you've dedicated a lot of time to establishing shortcut keys or custom toolbars or that kind of stuff. You can take those settings from your work computer and apply them to your home machine using the Copy Options wizard. Again, this is under the Start menu, and just type in Copy Options. Little application will pop up, and you can choose what you want to save, and that'll create a file. You'll take that over to the other system, and then use the Copy Option wizard to read in those settings. And just like that, the systems will be, the settings will be the same amongst the two.
Right. If you're, you tried everything CAD computer and you're still not really getting the ability to be effective in SOLIDWORKS, another thing to consider is if you have access, if you have VPN, actually remoting in to your work computer using either like Windows RDP. We've had some good reports of customers using Chrome Remote Desktop within the Chrome browser. And then there's other paid services like LogMeIn or GoToMyPC. That might be a Band-Aid, so you can use your kind of high-powered work computer through remote desktop from your local Chromebook or Apple Mac. The operating system may not support it. You will see some deficiencies there. You're probably going to see some graphics lag, some input lag. Your 3D mouse, if you have one, probably isn't going to work, but it'll let you get work done. Right.
Kind of takes me back to the old terminal server days, Glenn, if you remember that, and we used to do things like that.
Yeah.
In fact, we actually see some customers, using this internally for certain applications to, promote better collaboration at times.
I'm having flashbacks to using Pro-E on a Unix thin client, and it's not making me feel very good. Anyway.
But the world has come a long way since those days, but back then you weren't able to push the graphics down the pipeline with enough speed. I think we've come a long ways, but it's still not the ideal situation, but it lets us get some things.
And I'd say, look, none of us know how long the situation is going to persist. If you're looking for more of a longer term solution, or you're just really stuck and need something right now, the final option would be a VDI, a virtual desktop, or a DAS service, desktop as a service. And we've used two of those. We've used Frame from Nutanix. We use that to run our virtual training room for anyone that's taken online training with us. And then the other one is Stream 2.0. And both of those tools do a fantastic job of streaming the graphics pipeline, right? Seeing that high quality visual data in a way that's really efficient. Both of those tools will allow you to use SOLIDWORKS through a web browser. However, you've got to set it up, you've got to establish a contract with one of the providers, get your network license up there. There's a little bit of setup involved, but if this becomes a longer term solution or a longer term situation, or you're really looking for a solution in this space, they're both available, they both work well. We've included a link in the document to a trial environment that SOLIDWORKS run on Amazon AppStream. You can click try it out for a couple of days to get a sense of the experience, if that's something you want to explore. Before we move on, Tim, I wanted to just jump back. We've got a great question from Alicia. We appreciate that. Her question is the cloud storage mentioned here export control compliant? And the answer to that is there are a number of security protocols, industry standard cloud security protocols that this environment adheres to. Unfortunately, I don't think that extends all the way to like ITAR or DoD export compliance. We'll share as a follow-up kind of what those protocols are, but as it stands today, that's kind of the scenario there.
Sometimes that's an implementation question too, right? Depending on the way that it's rolled out. We find that with our file management tool and ITAR specifically. It's a great question.
Yeah. And if anyone else has questions, we would love to see them through the question panel.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got some technology up and running. Hopefully you've got access to your files, the team's distributed. Other work from home tips from somebody who's worked from home for a while is you really want to maintain the routine. It's easy to wake up at 7:55 and for me to get down here and be rolling by 8 in my sweatpants, eating lunch here at the table, just grinding it out. Sometimes I don't stop at 5 o'clock like I ought to, and I spend a few more hours working, but none of this stuff really lends itself to good performance, to good high performance productivity like is expected of us. So, I strongly urge you to maintain the routine. I find the transition into and out of work is particularly helpful. I take a little walk with the dog a bit before and after, and it just sort of sets my mind, and now I'm in that zone. Another option that is particularly handy is if you have a dedicated space in your house, use it and close the door. Now, my wife and I are both working from home, so she's back here in the office with the door closed, doing her thing, and we're just kind of rotating on that. But I do find when I'm able to close the door, it shuts out a lot of the the distractions. It keeps me out of the refrigerator every 30 seconds or, being distracted by television or whatever else. Another thing, and these are in no particular order, but you really want to talk to your boss a little bit about expectations and what's actually possible. Neighbor across the street's a welder, not getting much done right now. I'm working pretty close to normal. In some ways, it's actually picked up a little bit over here, but we'll see. Childcare is certainly an issue. I've got lots of coworkers that are exercising some flexible hours where maybe they do the childcare duties in the morning and then their significant other does it in the afternoon, and they kind of rotate like that. You might want to think a little bit about how your team will collaborate as well as tracking projects. Maybe you're outside of the office and you can't get to the whiteboard where you do this typically. There's some tools we might share a little bit later that can make this helpful. And then obviously webcams and communication tools are so important. We internally use something called Ring Central, which is a phone and chat tool. And the chat tool is so awesome how it connects our 230 employees. I see it going on in the support. I see sales tagging the support team with questions and a very rapid exchange of information. But it's awesome how it's all in one spot. If you're not using a chat tool, I'd urge you to go take a look. There's a lot of them out there. Slack's very popular today. Maybe you could resurrect like the AOL Instant Messenger. But I can't stress enough how important these tools really are to keep your business together and tightly couple everything. And then also webcams. They say 55% of communication is nonverbal. So if you're not using a webcam, well, you're dealing with about 45% of it. So, we use this a lot internally to have meetings. I think it's much more personal. It also, it lends itself to getting a read on people. We've also used it for happy hour, which is a great thing to do. I'd urge you to spend some time with your coworkers. We miss the water cooler talk that normally happens in the office. But if we spend a few extra minutes, every day, just making an effort to communicate, it maintains those relationships. It strengthens everything and makes it easier to get stuff done.
Yeah, that was my big takeaway, Tim. That I had to force myself to do is to call people and just not talk about work for 5 minutes, just like you would at the coffee machine or over lunch. But that's hard to replicate. You got to force yourself to do it in a virtual environment. Hey, so over the last 3 weeks, we have we have interacted with hundreds of our customers about getting them set up to work remotely. And the team that leads that are a technical support team. They're a dedicated team of mechanical engineers, electrical engineers, and computing specialists. And they've been very, very busy and doing a fantastic job. And if anyone on the line does have any questions, we certainly encourage you to get in touch. Our contact information is right on our website. It's linked in the document. I'll point out a couple of things. We present our customer satisfaction rate live. It's based on the last 100 surveys. Oh, still 99, we're doing okay. When you complete a ticket with us, we ask you how we did, good or bad. You can respond yes or no. We see about 60% of people responding, and we'll post that live. It'll dip down to 98, 97, but those high 90s. And if you are unsatisfied, we will make a point of reconnecting with you and trying to put it right. Okay. The other thing I want to show off on our website, and this is a tool that I think Tim and I have both taken advantage of recently in our own personal lives, is chat for support. It's such a great way to get on, to present a question, and kind of keep going with your work while responses come in, you interact with the support agent. So get you to explore that if you're interested. But email works, phone works, we don't mind how you want to contact us. Please use the workflow that makes sense to you. And support information is there on the right. Okay, so as Tim mentioned, it's tough at the moment to kind of feel connected, to stay connected. It really takes effort to get out into the world, but there is a lot of stuff that people have put together in the last 10 days to keep us all entertained and informed. And you see this all around, right? You see My wife does virtual yoga classes over Zoom meeting now. I've been really enjoying watching concerts on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube from some of my favorite performers. It's all sorts of cool stuff. So on our side, we put together an agenda over the month of April of a variety of events. And what we've done is we've taken our favorite things from 3D Experience World. Now, 3D Experience World, or SOLIDWORKS World as it used to be known, is the premier convention for SOLIDWORKS and 3D design today. It was in Nashville this year. There are about 6,000 attendees, typically 6,000 or 7,000 attendees every year that come together and see some of the best presenters in our field, share tips and tricks and expertise and leadership around 3D design. We've taken some of the best parts of that and put them into an agenda that you'll see ticked out over the next few weeks. And we've added a few things that are topical or interesting around other technologies. I'm really excited about, Tim, your presentation on April 23rd. That's talking about some of the ways that we're helping here at Hawk Ridge Systems to use our 3D printing fleet to help with COVID-19 containment. What else is interesting here?
We've got some really great presentations by the product management team. So these are individuals who specialize in a particular topic and spend their career doing just that. So Scott Woods has a pretty awesome presentation about how you can use SOLIDWORKS exploded views with a very simple workflow to create, rendered photorealistic imagery using Visualize or technical publications like the scalable vector images that we all have for instruction manuals. There's Charles Mayu is going to do a pretty deep session on SOLIDWORKS electrical and leveraging learning more about how to use the reporting functionality to report out things like custom bill of materials or to/from lists or specific information presented just the way you want it. So some really good stuff there. I think I'd urge everybody to sign up for what you can, and if you can't make the live thing, no big deal. You'll get the recording.
Okay. Point out a couple other things. The link there on the screen is the link to every presentation that was presented at 3D Experience World. I'm still getting used to the name change. There's hundreds up there. Right? You can go browse to your heart's content, but to help you out, Tim, I've been to 12 of these things now. I'm sure you've been to a few as well.
I have.
And there are presenters we seek out every single time. They are the best presenters in the field, and we've listed 4 or 5 of those in our handout document that I'd certainly recommend checking out. Okay. One more segment, we'll tackle a couple of these questions. The SOLIDWORKS user group has also really stepped up. This user group network, they've really stepped up with some content. For those that aren't aware, SOLIDWORKS user group is a network of community organizations distributed regionally across North America and around the world that meet regularly to discuss optimizing usage of SOLIDWORKS, to present new ideas and concepts in 3D design, and to network with your peers that do similar jobs to you at other organizations. It's a fantastic organization. It's been going for a very, very long time. But obviously they cannot hold their regional meetings right now. It's generally not good practice to meet in groups. So they've moved everything they do online. And what you're seeing on the screen is a snapshot of what they have scheduled. I couldn't fit it all in a picture. So I encourage you to go to the link, go see what's interesting. They're really running these in kind of an evening, late afternoon time frame. So kind of when you're outside of work, if you are looking for something to do, this can be an interesting engagement to get into. All right, got a couple of questions here. Tom asked a question, should the PDM standard Vault work if I enter the work network by VPN? It certainly should, but there may be some settings. So I'd encourage you to go look at the document we have in the handout about dialing in some of those port and host file settings. But you should be able to connect by VPN to your Vault if your VPN is configured for that.
Yeah, likely there's some ports that need to be opened, and some of the links give those pieces of information, those port numbers. But like we said, pick up the phone or chat with our support team. They answer these kinds of questions all day long, especially right during this time, and they could probably give you that answer much faster than Glenn and I.
And Ed shares a question. He's connecting to his work SOLIDWORKS through remote desktop and is experiencing, he's struggling to open it again after a SOLIDWORKS crash. And unfortunately, that's one that we probably have to dig into a little bit. So I'd really encourage you to contact our support login, and we'll be able to take a look at that and help you diagnose it. We've got the tools to do that. So we really appreciate that. And then a question from Hong, thank you for that. He's asking if he can get a copy of the presentation. I'll tell you that every link that we have is in the handout to the right. So the bulk of the content will be there. But when you leave here, there's a follow-up survey. If you tell us you'd like a copy of the presentation, we're happy to share it with you. And the recording will be posted to our website pretty shortly after we finish it. So thanks for all those questions, guys, and we'll keep going.
Hey, Glenn, we'll also put the that handout in a link to the handout in the description. If you're watching this in the recording, just go down to the description, you'll find a link to that handout.
Fantastic. Okay. So Tim, I know we have the same manager, and he's come to us a couple of times in the last couple of weeks and said, now that you're working from home and things are slowing down and you've got this free time, what projects can we tackle? I don't know about you, but I don't know where this free time comes from. I think there's a bit of a perception that we're going to have all this time now that we're working from home and maybe don't have that much to do in the evenings and weekends. But, you know, what's the reality? I know I'm not feeling it yet, maybe soon as things settle down, but how about you?
Not much yet, but well, let's ask everybody, huh?
Yeah, so we'll go ahead and launch a poll. What are you guys feeling? You know, are you busier than normal? Are you quieter than normal? Really interested in and we've got about 50% of people voting. That's pretty cool. I'm going to share this one because it's really interesting. Awesome, and we'll close it now. I really appreciate your feedback, everyone. So here's the deal. You know, we're seeing 26% of people saying, yes, I've got more time. That's great. But the majority kind of feel like me. Hey, I'm still busy and I expect to stay busy. And just because I'm not commuting doesn't mean I've got more free time. But there is a decent proportion that either have free time now or expect to in the near future. So we'll close that down and get back to it. So if you do have that free time, we're making that assumption, what can we do? And I see a comment from Brian here, which is exactly how I feel. There's more distractions working from home. That's the problem, and I 100% agree. I have to lock my fridge so I don't wake up standing in front of it every 10 minutes. But anyway, if you do have free time, there's some options available to kind of upskill and explore the software if you want to use that time productively. And so the first area we'll point to is training. You know, we traditionally run a lot of classroom training, and that's off the table. It's either forbidden in many states, or we've just made a choice in others that it's not a safe thing to be doing right now. Right? So we've moved all our training online. We had a pretty robust online training schedule already. It's even bigger now. Every single class we offer is available online. But we try the best we can to make that a really interactive classroom-like experience. You'll have a live instructor who's responsive to your questions. You can look at your screen if you need to. You'll hear questions from other people in the class. You get that kind of communal learning experience. And we'll still provide you with a printed manual that you can have as a reference. I know I have a bookcase full of SOLIDWORKS manuals from classes I've taken, and I'm dipping into those all the time. So we want to make sure you keep that reference. We also provide a complete SOLIDWORKS computing environment. It means you can use modules you don't have licenses for. It means you can be in SOLIDWORKS for 8 hours during the class without taking the license off your colleagues. And we use that Frame virtual environment for that. So that's certainly something that is available. We're offering, you know, at this time, we've got some offers for pricing on that class to those classes to recognize the situation that everyone's in. And we'd certainly encourage you to get in touch if you're interested in that. It's just a kind of quick view of our calendar, 33 classes the month of April. The full calendar is posted at the link there, which is also available in the handout. And you can see how many slots are available and those sort of things. And when it comes to, you know, kind of buying these courses, there are many options available. You can either buy a single class if you're interested, and as I said, we've got offers available. But there's a couple of packages that have built-in discounts, so make it really affordable. One is a training pass, and a training pass is basically a sequence of classes that are commonly taken together that you purchase as a group and get a discount on, and we have those in the SOLIDWORKS area for simulation and for computer-aided manufacturing. And they're for a single user to kind of follow a path through time. A training credit block is a really flexible tool for an organization to buy a pool of credits that can be used by any member of the team for any class in our portfolio. Right? Each class has a credit value attached to it, and taking that class uses credits from the block. And those are accessible for both online training, and when we do return to on-site, those credits still apply to that as well. So there are formal options for getting trained. And this is relevant to a question that Dan has asked. What about certifications?
Yeah, Dan, we're going to get your question answered here. So, you know, if you want to stand out amongst SOLIDWORKS users, you want to show your peers that you really know what you're doing and not just tell them, but actually give them something to show, check out the certification program from SOLIDWORKS. Here's a link. Again, you don't have to write that down. It's available in the handout. But in terms of how to take certification exams, it starts by going to that link. It has a number of different jumping off points to things like the certification catalog, FAQs, and so on. But my general philosophy for taking these certs, and I've taken quite a few of them over the years, is to study, train, and study. So I like to start off with some of the built-in tutorials. In fact, some of the certification questions deal exactly with the concepts from the tutorials, and Glenn's going to show you those in a bit. Then I like formal training. And I like to do a little self-study before I get to the formal training, so I really know what I'm doing. And then there's a number of sample certification exams I'll point you to in a moment that can let you actually preview the types of questions that you'll see on that certification test. In order to take the test, you'll need an internet connection. Basically, you'll install a little lightweight application that proctors the exam, so it times you, it gives you the questions, it records your answer, and gives you the final score at the end. You'll also need your PC running SOLIDWORKS, and the version, well, it depends on the certification test you're taking. If you're on the current version of SOLIDWORKS, no worries. If from, say, SOLIDWORKS 2001 Plus, the first version I ever used, it's going to be a bit of a challenge. The files that you may be expected to work on might not be compatible. So take a look at the certification description. They'll give you the oldest version of SOLIDWORKS that you could possibly run to take that exam. And then to answer Dan's question, you'll actually need to either pay or have credits in order to take the exam. But you get a number of free credits with your subscription license, so I'll share a little bit more on that in just a second. After you take the test, you'll get a nice certificate. You can print it out. I go to a lot of, I get to travel a lot and go out and check out what other people are doing, and I always see certifications hanging around people's office. It's a great way to decorate. You can also put your name in the online directory. so that other folks can see your accomplishment or maybe even search you out for your expertise. Well, that's an optional thing. And you know, if you don't have the right outcome, you can always take it again. There is a 14 to 30 day waiting period there in order to take it again. So there's a number of different certification exams that you can take. There's something like more than 20 today, and SOLIDWORKS continues to develop new certifications constantly. But the four main ones I'd bring your attention to are first, the Certified SOLIDWORKS Associate. This is the first level of certification. And, you know, it's a pretty, I find it a fair test. You know, it's basically basic proficiency. I know some community colleges that actually give this as part of the, you know, their SOLIDWORKS lesson concludes. So the students leave with that entry-level certification. I'd urge you to go a little further. The Certified SOLIDWORKS Professional Exam is definitely a test of someone's capabilities in SOLIDWORKS. It covers a wide range of functionality, including sketching, part creation, design intent, part editing, assemblies, drawings. This is a 3 hour and 20-minute total time that you have to take this test. So it's there's a lot there, but it's definitely you know, a measure of someone's capabilities. After the certified professional, you can go for the professional advanced tests. So these tests on niche areas like weldment, sheet metal, mold design, surfacing, drawings, etc. And then there's also the expert, where you have to have the CSWP and then some amount of the professional advanced in order to achieve that expert level. You take that test and you get a special party at 3D Experience World. Down below, there's also a link where on our training page, we've actually outlined different courses that you should take in order to get those certifications or to be successful with those certifications. So if you're wondering, you know, what kind of training do I need for the CSWP, we've got a recommendation and a link there. All right, Dan, here we go. So to answer your question on what the certifications cost, it depends. You can buy them outright, but most folks take them with their subscription service. So with an active subscription service contract, meaning you're entitled to support, software updates, etc., you also get 6 total certifications throughout the year. The way it works is you're entitled to 1 core exam, 1 advanced topic, or 1 specialty topic. You can take 1 certification from each category, and then you can request that voucher twice a year, giving you 6 total certifications for the year. Or in the certification catalog, you can go in and click on Buy Now. It'll actually take you to an online web store, and you can just pay for these. But I think the most common way that they're taken is through the subscription service credits. Some tips to improve your chances on passing. In the upper right-hand corner, that's the little tester client that you'll use to get the questions and key in your results. Like I said, start with built-in tutorials, formal training. Check out the sample exams. That'll give you a quick indicator of how you're feeling about the test or where you're at. Read the instructions thoroughly before you click go. I've missed this. Glenn, you ever take that test that says in the instructions, just sign your name, put your pencil down? I had that in school. I failed it miserably because I hopped right into the questions and started peeling through them. I couldn't figure out what everybody else was doing. So read the instructions. There could be really important pieces of information presented there. Use your time wisely. Understand the point system and how it's weighted. I took it a while back, Glenn, where it was basically a hands-on example, and that was 80% of the value of the test. And then there was like 20 multiple choice, which represented 20 other percent. It only took 75% to pass. So where do you think we should start?
Yeah.
So understand those things. The way I take multiple choice questions anyways, I like to go through fast, reading slow, and answer the ones I know, like I'm very confident in, leave the ones I'm not. I like to read out loud and read it again, but I just hammer out the ones I know, throw those out, and then go back and spend the majority of the time on the ones I need to think about. So don't make assumptions. Commonly, like in the CSWP, you're asked to model a part and report back the mass of the part. Don't be rounding the mass. If it's close, there's something wrong, like it will match dead on. So that's a clue. And don't worry about it. You can always, don't sweat it so much. You can always take it again after that 14 to 30 day waiting period. Last slide here on certification, Glenn. just shows what it's like to take that test. So you can see you've got SOLIDWORKS behind. There's that virtual tester environment. These don't have to be run on the same system, but you might need to move files from the tester onto the system running SOLIDWORKS. So I've always run them at the same time, and I just shuffle them between the monitors. But so you see the tester asking me, what's the mass of the part? You see a nice pictorial image as well as all the description and dimensional information that you need to generate that model. So it's pretty straightforward. And like I said, Dan, most of the time users are able to take advantage of that certification free voucher to get these tests.
Awesome. Very cool. All right, we're getting to the end here. I would say kind of the last area that I consider, if you are, have a little time on your hands, you want to, when you return to kind of in-person work and we'll get back to normal, whatever that ends up being, want to go back kind of with more skills than you had. And so we'd really encourage you in this time to explore the software. And that starts with SOLIDWORKS. There's so many automation and efficiency adding tools built into the software that I know I forget about all the time. And it's really worth using this time to go dig into those to see if way to improve your processes. All of us, when we're busy, we get so locked into the way we do things without even questioning if there's a better way to do it. And some ideas that we had for ways to do that are design tables, global variables and equations, and kind of master modeling techniques, leveraging the API to automate common tasks, getting into surfacing. It's definitely one on my list. I'm terrible at it, but I wish I was better. And maybe I'm looking at costing to figure out how to push information model down, through your value stream. And where do you look for these things? Start by recommending our blog and YouTube. We put up a ton of stuff in those two spaces, but also the onboard tutorials, which you'll see on the right for advanced techniques, are fantastic. Also look right under that, CSWP and CSWA preparation classes built into the software to help you pass those certifications. And then lastly,
hey Glenn, one thing.
Sorry, Tim.
I just wanted to point out really quick. So under help, you'll find these tutorials. But if you want tutorials beyond just SOLIDWORKS stuff, you may need to turn those add-ins on, which is a little tricky. But if you go to add-ins and turn on CAM, for example, you'll find a CAM tutorials area under that help menu.
Yep. Last one here, mysolidworks.com. Ton of great content up there as well, hosted by SOLIDWORKS. But that's just SOLIDWORKS. There's so many tools and modules and other technologies in 3D design today. When I started, we sold SOLIDWORKS, PDM, and stress analysis. And that was it. Now, the portfolio you oversee is huge. There's things on here I don't even know what they do. But I'd really encourage you, if you have some downtime, have a look at what's out there. Both from us at Hawkridge Systems and elsewhere in the market, have a look around, see if there is anything that that can make your processes more efficient or plug a hole in your workflow. In the last kind of time when most business was slow back in 2009, we worked with a ton of customers just to explore their workflows and maybe talk about some things they might be able to plug in once they kind of get back to full productivity. And using that downtime to explore things that you can't do when you're busy is a really good idea. So again, how do you do it? Right? What do you look at? A really easy way is the Express tools into SOLIDWORKS. They're in the tools menu. Tools, Express tools. You'll find simulation, flow simulation, DriveWorks, design for manufacture, and maybe some others. Those are functional versions, but introductory versions of the full product suite. So I can run a stress analysis on a part. I can do a really basic CFD investigation. There's a few different things that you can do in that, and it's a click away. So go check those out. If you have downtime, take a trial of something. On our website right now, I've shared links. We're currently featuring trials of Composer, SOLIDWORKS Composer, and DriveWorks Solo. Click a link, we'll share some information with you, and you can get going with the trial to check them out.
It's fun. You know, Glenn, I spent a bit of Friday night actually doing some stuff with Simuli Abacus. I got into some fracture mechanics, some things I wanted to do with high-end simulation for a long time, and I found myself working a tutorial and then spending, well, more time than I'd care to admit exploring other areas of the software. It was genuinely fun. Maybe we had a virtual happy hour slightly before that, but regardless, I learned a few things, and I think I'm a little better because of it.
We encourage you, if you're interested in something, give us a call and let us give you a demo. We're just here to share information at this time. We know business isn't rolling for people, but we would love to share it. And we can customize that to what you do, produce something that's relevant, and just kind of share how the different tools or modules might work. And then just get out there and look around. Our website, our YouTube, our blog, and all the rest of the stuff in the world, you'll find. And so, in fact, as you leave here, we're going to ask us to put a survey in. And if one of the questions is about what area of the software, what area of functionality are you most interested in? And if you put a response in there, Tim or I will share our favorite piece of content on that topic. So I encourage you to do that. And there's another great question here from Adam. He's asking CFT, what's a good tool for a simulation of wood combustion for wood stoves? And that's a really tricky one, Adam. Because unfortunately, nothing in the SOLIDWORKS portfolio is really going to be able to handle that combustion piece. But I'll reply with a couple of tools that I'm aware of that may be able to handle that combustion element.
Sometimes these things take a deeper discussion. We find that the actual combustion simulation might be at the heart of it. But great question, and we'll find something for you, Adam.
Yeah. Okay. To finish here, I just want to share a question from Robbie. And Robbie shares something that I'm sure you guys are facing. His users, his team, are reporting that VPN is really slow. We've seen companies that have gone from like 2 VPN users a day to 200, and their infrastructure is just not built for it. And you're at the mercy of web connections, in between. So that's making it really hard to work on shared file sets. Do we know of any third-party cloud applications? There's ones from Dropbox, there's ones from GrabCAD. But what else is out there? We have, in general, kind of mixed reviews from our customers on those. They can, with big files like SOLIDWORKS, they can sometimes introduce some file corruption if they get interrupted when they're going up or down.
Or sometimes they're not aware of how our files are referencing one another and all connected. It can be challenging.
But they exist. They're out there. You can go explore them and do your own testing, because we understand that in this situation, any solution is better than no solution. So we're going to recommend anything that's point you towards anything that's out there in the world. One area that is worth discussing, though, and we've intentionally left this to the end, I apologize, we're going to run a couple of minutes over, but is the 3D experience. And the 3D experience is kind of the next evolution of kind of the SOLIDWORKS marketplace, but it's really in its infancy. And we don't really want to present it now as a bulletproof solution for everyone, because it's not, right? But as we reflect on this time in our history, if I look at the business systems that we have that I'm not having any issues with, like my Google Mail, my Google Docs and Sheets, and the drive that I store those in. What else? Our customer resource management, relationship management tool, they're all on cloud and they've just worked, right? I've just logged in and they've worked. And the 3D experience is an environment that, in the future could give me that sort of, I guess, insurance policy that I can lose everything, but if I can maintain a connection to the internet, I've got my stuff. I can use my resources. So just show you, a 30-second overview of what this might look like. This is an active project that I have running in the 3D experience. And, you know, it kind of starts with a social collaboration. This is kind of a series of conversations my coworkers and I are having about a project we're working on. I can put pictures, I can put files into this environment, and I can talk about, you know, different topics and create comment threads associated with individual things, right? So everything we're talking about this project is in this one place. It's kind of like my Slack, my Google Chat, you know, associated with this project.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. The data, the files I'm working with are all stored in here as well, right? So what we're looking at top left is kind of my, I'll use the word folder. It's more of a database. So folder is the wrong word, but these are all the components. These are native SOLIDWORKS components. I can explore at the bottom left here how these all, you know, what my product structure looks like. I'll make that bigger because it's easier. I can browse around the structure. This one's pretty flat, so it's not very interesting. But I can see the relationships between the individual components, right? I can drag things into a view, see what they look like in 3D without needing any sort of CAD application. This is just a website. And then there's basic lifecycle controls. So things that are in work and owned by me, other people can't mess with, right? It's just exercising some basic kind of control over things. There's also project elements available. And you can grab sort of my project planner environment where I can lay out tasks and things like this. So, you know, it's kind of something that we can consider for the future. And hopefully the next time there's a global event like this, we may have more stuff that's available in the cloud. Right, so I've got my tasks assigned to different people. I've got my Gantt chart for how the project's going to proceed, right? It's all kind of lined up here. And then these tools do maintain a direct connection to conventional SOLIDWORKS. So here's my conventional SOLIDWORKS. There's a part that I opened right from that environment. And this kind of points to Robbie's question that he mentioned. You know, this is basically my state of those components. And this particular one is locked by my colleague. I can't touch it. He can release it and then I'll get access to it. But right now it's reserved by one of my colleagues. So within an assembly, we can kind of control what each individual is addressing or working on. So we present that as just kind of a bit of a taste, a bit of a preview of what this 3D experience environment that you probably heard a lot about but don't really understand, what it's kind of geared towards. And today there are, for SOLIDWORKS users, there's really just 5 basic tools available. A couple of CAD tools that will run in the browser. The industrial design one's pretty interesting because it will do things that SOLIDWORKS can't around subdivision modeling. Some basic data management tools, project management tool, and then a really powerful nonlinear analysis tool. All right, we're 2 minutes over time. We appreciate you sticking with us. We appreciate you attending today. So what do you do now? I'd say there's 2 takeaways from my perspective. Go out and attend a community event. Try to find something interactive. Be a part of it. Ask questions. We really appreciate all the questions today. It's been awesome to be able to interact with you. And then also explore the industry. Look around. There's so much technology out there, more and more coming to market every day. There are tools out there that can help you be more efficient when you're fully back to normal. So if you do have downtime now, now's a great time to explore them. But otherwise, we just really appreciate your time. we're here for you over the next few weeks as we're kind of all working in a new paradigm, and we hope you reach out and let us know what you need, because we're happy to provide it.